Hi guys, this is Abhinav and welcome to MTAC TV. Tonight we are live with another hot topic discussion for the India to concern the India Sri Lanka ODI series and T20 series that's coming up, starting up next week. And to discuss that, we've got a pretty amazing trio of guests with us here. We've got Gurkirat Singh Gill, the eponymous host of the talk show Gupshup with Gill. We've got sports analyst and ace quizzer Saahil Sharma, and we've got making his MTAC TV debut tonight, Gitan Sani with us today. So, guys, welcome aboard. So, Gurkirat, I'll straight away come to you first up. Is it? This is a very different Indian team that's going over there, going to tour Sri Lanka. There's the senior Indian, the main Indian team is already out in England to for the Test series now against England. In the modern day world of international cricket, in the current COVID world and the post COVID world, will this be the new normal that a country will have to send out two teams to honor their international fixtures against a particular country, or is this a good trend for international cricket, or is there something completely off? Is it just a fad that will die out in a few years?
Uh, Hard to say for how long it will continue, but maybe in the near future this could become the norm. And I don't think there's an issue as long as the teams that are being sent and the boards which are sending that teams are being honest in the efforts. As long as you're being honest in the efforts and sending a team which you feel is capable enough, I don't see any issues with it. England has already done it. India will be doing it. In fact, felt, and I had spoken of it on some other show, that Australia cancelled on the South Africa tour last year. If they had players who didn't want to go to South Africa, maybe due to COVID, they should have still went ahead with the tour and maybe sent in a few young guns to see how they fare. Because, see, it's also an opportunity for those who may not ever get a chance to, represent the national side and make their presence felt. So it's something I feel that might become the norm in the near future, till the time we don't have advocate measures, or it doesn't become the new normal, or we wipe out the disease completely. But I don't think it should be looked down upon, because it should be looked upon as something where the boards are trying to make the best efforts possible to give the spectators and the fans what they want. So I really don't see an issue with it.
Good point there, Gurkirat. Sahil, what do you think? Is this a fad that will die an automatic death, or will it actually go on for a longer period of time?
Yeah, I also think that this is here to stay. I mean, teams, especially. I mean, if you can say the big three, they will. I mean, divide these teams. And even now, if you see, I mean, it makes sense also. So if you talk about India, I think Rohit, Kohli, Jadeja, and Bumrah are sure shot starters in all the formats. Apart from that, I don't think you have players who are playing all the formats, right? So it makes sense. We can count in West Indies also, because they have a very different teams for limited overs and for tests. So I don't see an issue. And with the IPL expanding to 10 teams and new T20 leagues coming up, I think there is enough scope for teams like India, England to send two separate teams, and especially India, as we have seen, right? They have enough bench strength right now. So it also depends. Yeah. One issue that I see with it is that maybe teams like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, they might feel that we are not playing a full strength. So for example, Sri Lanka, if India plays test with Sri Lanka, it very well might happen that India might not send their best players like Kohli or Bumrah, and they might be rested. So they might have an issue with that we are not sending the full strength sides. But in the longer run, I see that this sending two separate teams will stay on. I mean, this method or this idea will stay on.
Good point there, Sahil. Good. Gitan, shall now come down to you. What do you think? I mean, this idea of sending out two separate teams, and is it going to continue for a very long period of time, or does it fade out?
So I completely agree with what Gurkirat and Sahil have mentioned before me. I think this is here to stay, and I don't see there's any problem with this. I think this can only help for cricket to grow. Now we see there are so many T20 leagues happening all over the globe. We have cricket in Canada, we've got cricket in Dubai, and and what that has done is that has made format specialists, right? We've got format specialists for tests, like Ishan Sharma and other players they are focusing their game only towards test cricket. So I think um, this will enable the team managers to prepare better teams, ensure more competitive cricket, and this also enables them and other teams to acclimatize to conditions more because they have more times on their hands. So, like we're seeing, the Indian team is in England right now because they don't have to be there for ODI. They don't have to be there for ODI, and they don't have to be there for the T20 series. What they're doing is they have a lot of practice matches. They have a lot of other things going on for them. So I think that will just enable more competitive cricket, and I think it's a great sign for cricket, for the growth of cricket. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
also
sure.
have something. To add on this. If you look around the globe, there aren't many three format players anyway. You can count them on your fingers. You could say so. If you talk of India, there's probably Virat Kohli, there's Jasprit Bumrah, Rishabh Pant, and now you could say that maybe Rohit Sharma is making that transition because even someone like a Mohammad Shami isn't a regular in the T20 side. He's been out, sometimes out, sometimes in the side. So India probably have three or four players who are all format specialists. Around the world, you'd see maybe a Kane Williamson is an all format specialist, maybe a Trent Bolt is. Uh, Ross Taylor has also been dropped from the T20 side. If you move to England, maybe a Josh Butler, Jofra Archer, and now even Joe Root isn't playing all three formats.
Yes.
If you move to Australia, probably a Pat Cummings, who's an all three format player. Maybe a David Warner because Steve Smith also has now. There are reports that he might opt out. And even when he was playing T20s, it was not as if he was acing it. So there are hardly any player. A lot of players who actually do well in all three formats. It's very difficult to do because there's another reason for it. Because of the advent of T20s, the gap between ODIs and test matches is also increasing a lot. You have to make certain changes to your technique, which will make sure that you probably will have to sacrifice your technique in another format. Look at the likes of KL Rahul, Mayank Agarwal. The moment they've made those small changes in their technique to open up the offside slightly, have a slightly bigger gap to ensure that they are able to attack more. They've been found struggling in test matches. There's a reason why someone like Aaron Finch also struggles in test matches. So it's anyway very difficult for any player to ace all three formats in today's times. It's extremely hard because of how different and how wide apart they are becoming with the advent of T20s. Even ODI cricket, you can't have an ODI specialist doing well in test matches now. It's becoming very difficult.
And just one more point I'll just add is the mental aspect, right? I think Kohli and Shastri have also spoken about it. So even the players who can play all three formats, you just cannot expect them to play all round the year. Somebody like Bumrah, his physical fitness itself will give up after a certain point, and we saw that he didn't play the limited overs against England, right? So hardly you will find maybe a Kohli, right, who has like such great fitness, who can basically cope up and play. But even from his perspective also, he would also need a bit of rest when it comes to the mental aspect. So that also has to be taken in consideration when you are looking out for players who can play for you in all three formats.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, it's not the first chance in this alone for India. India has done it before in '98 when it's not when India had one team playing the Sahara Cup against Pakistan out in Toronto, and then another Indian team coached by Krishnamachari Shrikant and led by Anil Kumble and having likes of Sachin Tendulkar and Ajay Jadeja ended playing the Commonwealth Games out in Kuala Lumpur. but that the Commonwealth Games cricket matches weren't recognized by ICC as international games. So unfortunately, they don't go down in the statistic in the record books for those players. But now coming down to one of the key points of our talk here. Gurkirat, I'll come down to you for this. What do you think about this Indian team which has been picked for the Sri Lanka series? Is this a last chance salon for guys like Manish Pandey and Sanju Samson, who are kind of who have a lot of competition for them in the slots they perform in, and is this the last chance for them to try and impress the selectors to stay in the discussion for the series? What are your thoughts about the side, and your thoughts especially on Manish Pandey, Sanju Samson?
So I'm going to say something which might not make a lot of fans happy. Because uh, there are a lot of wish lists that are floating around with regards to the series. You probably have, I think, 18 players and you have only 6 games. And the common wish list seems to be that because Al Dravid has previously tried out a lot of players, the same thing will happen. I don't think the same thing should happen because 6 games are too less to get any answers if you're going to rotate and try out players.
True.
That is the number one thing that I have, that I feel that you cannot be possibly trying out all the players. And I also feel that someone like a Chetan Sakaria has been drafted into the team too early. Maybe there
Yes.
were others who could have been, given the chance before. Someone like an Ishan Porel, maybe, who's been bowling a lot more than what Chetan Sakaria did, or maybe even an Avesh Khan could have been sent. But I am happy that he's been sent to England. But there are other players as well who could have been, sent on that trip. I'm not sure why Krishna Gautam was selected, but anyway, what I feel is that since you spoke about Manish Pandey, I think the think tank should be giving him all 3 games at the number 3 position, but they should not be playing him in T20s at all because you will not get anything if you play him in T20s. One, his best position is in the top 3, which he's not
Yes.
going to get because there's an influx of players who can bat in the top 3. In fact, what I feel is that anyone in T20s can bat in top 3. It's the most easy position, especially the opening position. It's the most easy position in T20s or in limited
True.
overs. So I don't think Manish Pandey should be playing the T20s anyway. As far as Kuldeep Yadav is concerned, I think the team management should play him all games, especially the ODIs, and sort of let him fail. I know there's sometimes a lot of talk about Sanjay Manjrekar's tweet about Virat Kohli in 2012, where he said that I'd like to give one more game to Virat Kohli to sort of make sure that he doesn't belong there. Maybe something like that needs to be done with a few players who are on the fringes. You play Manish Pandey all 3 games, ODIs. You play Kuldeep Yadav all 3 games in the ODIs, and you play the likes of Navdeep Saini all games. Because let's face it, apart from Jasprit Bumrah and maybe Mohammad Shami is still not a very consistent Yorker bowler. Apart from Jasprit Bumrah, there is no one in the setup or around the fringes of the Indian team who can bowl as fast as Navdeep Saini and can bowl Yorkers accurate. I know sometimes he has the tendency to bowl wayward, bowl beamers, but you have to try him out in these 6 games and see what he can do. I genuinely feel that he's been mistreated since India went to Australia and gave those 370 odd runs in the first 2 ODIs. He was then dropped for the third game, didn't get a game in the T20s, and then when he played the Test match in Sydney, was wavered in the first innings and then got injured in Gabba, and then he got dropped for Prasidh Krishna, etc., etc. So these are my few wishes. Kuldeep Yadav should play all 3 games, regardless of how he fares.
Yes.
Even if he fails for in all 3 games, let him fail. You know what you know if you can, you'll get an idea if you can play him ahead. Let Manish Pandey bat at number 3 in all 3 games.
True.
Let Navdeep Saini play all 6 games. I'll also come to another point. I don't see and understand how both Prithvi Shaw and Devdutt Padikkal can get all the games. I'm not
True.
sure because Prithvi Shaw has runs behind him, so does Devdutt Padikkal, but the weight of runs of Prithvi Shaw is higher. In the pecking order, he's ahead because he's already played for India in ODIs and in Test matches, so he should ideally be playing. Then, if you play Devdutt Patikal, you have both the lefties at top, and you would ideally want a left hand right hand combination. I personally feel that in all the three T20s, you should play only one batsman out of them, because if you are going to play two games for someone, then one game for someone else, you're not going to gain much out of it. Also, again, like I said, there is heavy traffic at the top anyway. You will eventually have Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, KL Rahul, and Shikhar Dhawan anyway in the top four. So you'll have to think from a futuristic point of view. Who do you want to play in? And whosoever you play in the first game, I think you should continue with it. I don't think both of
Absolutely.
them should be tried out because you will not gain anything out of it. For me, Prithvi Shaw should start before Particle because of the
Yes.
reasons I explained. But I'm sure it will not go down with a lot of people.
Very well articulated there, Gurkirat. Very Dravidesque articulation. So, on that very point, let's head down to Sahil. What do you think about this Indian team that's been picked? I mean, last chance saloon for a few. And what do you think? I mean, is there a chance for someone like Devdutt Patikal or someone else to force an opening into in this side over here?
Yeah, so let me first answer about Manish Pandey. Like, I have actually spoken a lot about Manish Pandey. I mean, I might be a bit harsh, but I think whatever evidence we have, I don't think Manish Pandey uh, can play for, I mean, deserves a spot in the Indian team. Not in ODIs, not in T20s. But having said that, like, if he has been picked, I think he should be only played in ODIs. I don't see a position for him in the T20s. I've said it previously also that if you look at his record in the IPL at number 3, it's not a great record. I mean, I've compared it with Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli's record. Rohit Sharma opens, Virat Kohli comes at 3. He has a big issue of not changing gears. I mean, at the end of the innings. So he cannot be a number 3, especially in T20s. In ODIs, I understand if he has been picked. I think he's a senior player. He's, I think, close to 30. I think he's above 30 now.
He's above
So
30 now.
yeah, he's above 30. So ODIs, yes, you give him a chance. As Gurkirat said, play him all 3 games. But T20s, please avoid playing Manish Pandey. That's like, I just wish that they don't play Manish Pandey in T20s.
Also,
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
there's another thing that the Indian management also doesn't play him at his best possible position. You're not going to gain
Absolutely.
anything if you keep playing him at 5-6.
Yes.
It's a proper. It's unfair to the player, and it's
Yes.
unfair to the team combination, and it's unfair to the people who are sitting out who can do a better job at 5 or 6.
Yes. Yes. Now coming to Sanju Samson, I think he has still a lot of time, right?
Yes.
He I don't think that this is his last chance. I mean, he has shown enough pedigree that he can play for India. I mean, even in Australia, I thought his approach was quite good, but it didn't come off. So yeah, now coming back to Padikkal, I think Prithvi Shaw and Shikhar Dhawan are your automatic choices. And if you give, and the thing is, if you give Padikkal a chance, or let's say you give him a game, right, and then he scores, let's say 100, then it becomes difficult for you, right? You put yourself in a spot. I am always a firm believer that you should give a long rope to players, even though if I feel that Manish Pandey does not belong, but he still deserves a long rope. If you have given shown faith in him, you need to, as Gurkirat said, right, give him some test, give him some game time. That okay, we have given you enough chances. Now you don't belong. So now coming back to Kuldeep Yadav, I would not pick Kuldeep Yadav for T20s. The reason being, I would like to try Varun Chakravarti, and I see Chahal playing. I mean, he would be your automatic spinner, I would guess, for your T20 World Cup. So Kuldeep Yadav and Chahal would be my choices for the ODI games. But for T20, I would love to have a Varun Chakravarti and Yuzvendra Chahal in the team as spinners. I don't see Krishnappa Gautam getting a game because Krunal Pandya, I think, brings more to the setup. I mean, as the second all-rounder, and we don't know if Hardik Pandya will bowl or not, but I think both the Pandya brothers will try to get in those fifth bowler quota. Apart from that, middle order, I think from a selection point of view, I don't have many issues apart from Manish Pandey getting selected in the squad. I think it's a decent squad. I think some of the players that Gurkirat mentioned, they might have been sent, like Avesh Khan and Arzan Nagaswala. He did well in the domestic tournaments. But due to COVID, I mean, they have been sent as reserves. So overall, I think it's a decent squad. What India
Uh,
is saying.
uh, good point there, Sahil. Gitansh, I'll take your views on the squad that's been selected. I mean, is this the final chance for a Manish Pandey, or like Gurkirat and Sahil said, for a Kuldeep Yadav to stay relevant in the discussion for India selection in the future, and for someone like a Sanju Samson to stay in the minds of the selectors for a period of time?
So my opinion is actually a mix of what Gurkirat and Saahil have said. I completely agree that Prithvi Shaw and Shikhar Dhawan would be your automatic choice for the opening combination. We've seen them perform amazingly well in the IPL as a pair, and Prithvi Shaw has got runs in the IPL and in Vijayasare right before that. And I think Prithvi Shaw qualifies as your choice with Shikhar Dhawan for the opening pair, provided that, like, I was reading up this article I think a day or two ago, that there were rumors that Prithvi Shaw might get called up to England as a
Yes.
replacement. So if that is not happening, then I think that would be my go-to choice for the opening pair. And maybe if Prithvi Shaw performs like very bad, then I think maybe Devdutt Patil can get a game. And for number three in the ODIs, I would like to see how Manish Pandey performs, because in the previous IPL, I think he was not able to change gears, right? But I think in the ODI setup, he might be able to give that strength to the middle order and that experience that this very young Indian team might not have. So I would like to see him bat at number three in the ODI setup. And yeah, about Kuldeep Yadav, I think this is a great opportunity for Kuldeep Yadav. I think it's hard for him to get a game for KKR in the IPL, but I think this could be his chance to perform, and I think he should be selected for the ODIs. And yeah, Varun Chakravarti is a more exciting option for the T20s. You know, the mystery spinner tag and forming in Sri Lankan conditions. I think it's going to be an amazing side if Varun Chakravarti gets to play as a mystery spinner in the T20s. So yeah, Kuldeep Yadav would be my pick as a spinner, and then any day I think Krunal Pandya trumps Krishnappa Gautam selection. I agree. The more exciting argument over here, I think, would be between Sanju Samson and the wicket keeper choice that India would go for. So I think
Exactly.
Ishan Kishan hasn't gotten, like, his last season was not as impressive as his previous seasons have been. So I think, and Sanju Samson coming with the confidence of that one century and the attitude with which he plays. I remember hearing from him in his second or third game after the century. He said, if I fail in most of the matches, but I'm able to score one century, then I'm good. So the confidence of leading an IPL team with such great captains and coming with that attitude, I think he deserves to get a chance, and I think he will play those innings with the difference. So I think Ishan Kishan is still on the younger side. He's still, I think, 21 or 22, and Sanju Samson is 26, and he's got a little bit more experience. And I think he's going to be an exciting pick for the Sri Lankan series. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well said there, because with your Ishan Kishan Sanju Samson conundrum, we segue into this question that we've got from Chaitanya Grover, who's asked, what about the wicketkeeper? Would you prefer Ishan Kishan or Sanju Samson? And will Nitish Rana get a chance this time? So I'll take your views. Sahil, I'll take your views on it, and also Gurkirat, I'll take your views. So Sahil, you go on first.
So wicketkeeper, I think Sanju Samson deserves a chance ahead of Ishan Kishan. But in T20, as I said, when Manish Pandey is not playing, I would play both Sanju Samson and Ishan Kishan. So in ODIs, I prefer Sanju Samson right now. I think Ishan Kishan is still a little undercooked in terms of experience at the international stage. So in ODIs, I would go ahead with Sanju Samson, and in T20s, I'd pick both of them. I don't see Nitish Rana getting. I mean, I would not in favor of him getting a game time. I mean, although he has been selected, but I don't think even in IPL he has been that consistent in terms of performances. And also, it's relative. I'm not saying that he's not a good player or something like that, but when you compare to the options that we have, I think everybody's ahead of him in the pecking order.
Absolutely. Gurkirat, what do you think?
Yeah, so again, the day squad was selected, I'd said that I don't think Nitish Rana should have been in the squad because I personally don't think that he's India ready yet. We haven't seen great performances from him at the India A level. Also, there are a few weaknesses which have stayed with him over the last couple of IPLs as well. So he's not really worked on it. The way I see it in T20s, both of them, both Ishan Kishan and Sanju Samson will play. The way I see the T20 in the T20s top six is Shikhar, Shaw, Surya Kumar Yadav. Then 4 and 5 can be fluid depending upon who gets dismissed. 4 and 5 you can have Ishan Kishan and Sanju Samson. If you want to maintain a left hand right hand combination, you send the players accordingly. At number 6 you have Hardik Pandya. At number 7 you have Krunal or one of Christopher Gautam, and then you have the four remaining bowlers. Also, I'm not sure if in T20s India would be able to play Varun Chakravarti and Yuzvendra Chahal both because of the batting depth issue. If you are playing both of them, then your batting more or less finishes at 7. Because Bhuvneshwar Kumar will be then coming in at 8 if both of them play. So I think there's a good possibility in T20s that at number 7, you might have Krunal Pandya. At number 8, you might have Krishna Gautam because there's no Washington Sugar. And then you will have Bhuvneshwar Kumar, then one of Chahal and one of Chahal or Varun Chakravarti. And
Chakravarti.
then you could have another pacer who could be Deepak Chahar or Navdeep Saini or anyone else who's there. Uh, Apart from this, in ODIs again, I think number 3, like I said, would be Manish Pandey, and number 6, your of course will be Hardik Pandya once again. So there's spots open only for two places, which is 4 and 5. Now that can be rotated between three players, between Surya Kumar Yadav, Sanju Samson, and Nishan Kishan. But I feel the key should be that whichever two players you pick for that spot, you should more or less have them, or you do a rotation between 3, 4, and 5 and then see
Okay.
it around. I don't see how Nitish Rana will get a chance, and the only way I see Devdutt Padikkal getting a chance is if Shikhar Dhawan sits out. Because what we are also forgetting is that in the last T20 series that India played, Shikhar Dhawan was dropped after the first game. So it's not that there is complete security at his place for him as well in the T20 in the World Cup T20 squad. Though he's
Yes.
been doing well in the IPL since he's moved to Delhi Capitals and his strike rate has gone up immensely. He used to bat at 120, now he bats at 140, 144. So I am not sure that Shikhar Dhawan would like to sit out. So yeah, I personally feel that it would be hard for Particle to get hard for both Particle and Shaw to get games. If both of them do get the games, then like how Saahil mentioned, what if Particle scores big in one game and Shaw doesn't do well in two? Who gets
True.
ahead in the pecking order. So I am just of the view that there is no way that the team management should look to get games for everyone, because if you do that, then you are making what you call it in typical Hindi terms that khichdi ban gayi hai, wo वैसा हो जाएगा. So I'm not sure that is the right way to go about it. And yeah, it's
Absolutely.
going to be unfortunate on the likes of Nitish, maybe Chetan Sakaria, and maybe Arshdeep Singh as well, and Christopher Gautam, that they may not get the games, but it is what it is. In When you have
Absolutely.
only 6 games, 3 ODIs and three T20s, you really can't get games for everyone. And if you do that, then I'm not sure you will get enough out of the games, because in one game a batsman or a bowler can also be lucky and perform well, and the luck can play a part in them performing very poorly as well. So how do you make anything out of one game?
True. True. Quite an interesting point is that Ishan Kishan has a much better listed record than Sanju Samson. I mean, who Sanju got his only listed 100 only a couple of years back. That to a double hundred against, I think, Bihar it was. And Ishan Kishan has been ahead of Sanju even on the India pecking order for white ball for their white ball squad. So there might be a chance that Ishan could be ahead of the race for in the ODI side, at least for the wicketkeeper slot. Because there's a very interesting. So we'll segue into our discussion into the next part of our discussion about whether domestic performances from the Syed Mushtaq Ali and the Vijay Hazare Trophy been adequately rewarded or if they or were there any other players who should have been making it to the squad but are unfortunate to miss out on? Gurkirat, I'll start with you on this.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Even if say, like I said, maybe an Ishan Porel could have been drafted in place of Chetan Sakaria, but I'm not sure how he would have gotten a game. Honestly, uh, is Natarajan a part of the squad, or he's
No,
out with? No,
Natarajan
I
is
No,
think
he has
he's
had a
still
knee
out with
surgery.
injury.
yeah, he's out with injury because he went out of the IPL as well. So I'm not sure how much would have it served any player to be in the squad and then be on the bench, because it can get frustrating as well. My another pet peeve has been that I felt that maybe someone like a KL Rahul should have been in Sri Lanka rather than being in England, because very honestly, I don't think he did anything much to get back into the Test side. Uh,
True.
he scored heavy runs in the 2020 IPL, probably at a strike rate which which wasn't great enough, and we might have told the selectors that he could come back into the Test side. But honestly, uh, I find it hard how KL Rahul made it back to the Test side, and if he doesn't get any game, I think it's only going to add to his frustration, because he's already been on the bench for the four England tests. He was on the bench for two tests in Australia. Then he got injured, so I'm not sure how it's going to help him. Probably he should have been in Sri Lanka. So, like I said, you could argue that maybe a few performances haven't been rewarded, but I'm not sure how much would have it led to anyway. And coming to the point, if Syed Mushtaq Ali or Vijay Hazari performances are rewarded or not, see, there's one thing that we have to accept, and this happens everywhere, that there in some way or the other performances in IPL do take precedence over the performances in other formats or in other tournaments, because
True.
there are things that we don't know from the outside. You can never quantify what a pressure situation is. How do you
True.
quantify it? So maybe sometimes selectors or the think tank think that, okay, this player has shown that he can do better in a pressure situation, so we might as well pick him, or we want that player to carry out that confidence in the other format. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it's not something that only India do it. Even England have been guilty of doing it. They tried that with Jason Roy in the Ashes because he had a great 2019 World Cup. They drafted him in the Ashes, didn't work. They've been trying this for the last 6 years with Josh Butler or Johnny Bairstow. When they have a good white ball season, they bring them back in, because somewhere they feel that they have that quality. India have done it with Rohit Sharma as well. When Rohit Sharma came back to the Test squad, he didn't have enough runs in Ranji Trophy or anything. It's just that they thought that maybe now this time it can work. So it's selection at the end of the day is a process or an activity of elimination. You really
True.
can't nail it down to 100% objectivity. It is impossible to do it. So yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day. No one, no, you can never nail it completely objectivity, with complete objectivity. And there will be few people who will not like it. There will be a few people who will like it, but it's how it goes. It will always be that way.
True. Sahil, I'll come down to you for your views on the selection, at least on whether the domestic performance have been rewarded or not, especially considering that stalwarts like Jadev or Narkar, who seems to have missed out for his statement in from Rajasthan, from the Rajasthan Royals, then and then Krishnappa Gautam making it to the Indian team, maybe over someone like a Lalit Yadav. So what do you think? I mean, should those performances have been rewarded, especially and to the point that Gurkirat made? We've got a question from Arun Bansal that do you think Rahul should have been in Sri Lanka more than in England? So what are your thoughts about this and the larger point in question?
Yes. So I think Rahul, I slightly disagree with Gurkirat on that. I think what he mentioned about Rohit, right? Like he didn't have, there was no evidence of him succeeding as a test opener, right? But I mean, with some players, you feel that why they have not just performed. Like you just have that question, like why is this player not performing to his potential? I mean, even Nasir Hussain, I remember his tweets have been like coming up now, right? When he said that I think Rohit Sharma belongs, and I will be really surprised if he's not playing Test cricket. So I think with some players, I think they are those class players. I think have to go with, you don't have to. I'm not saying that you should not reward domestic performances. At the end of the day, it's all about, but there has to be a certain mix, right? Even, I mean, I can think of the Pakistani team and how Imran Khan used to just pick players from the Maidans, right? And he just
Yes.
put Inzamam ul Haq or Wasim Akram. So I'm not saying that's the go-to strategy, but with some players you can take that route. And Rahul, I feel, I mean, even though even I have the certain issues, I think we all have seen there is evidence of his strike rate being a problem in T20s. But I guess he's a class player, so he should be playing Test cricket. In my opinion, he belongs there. Maybe he has not performed. I mean, a very similar case to Rohit Sharma, but I feel that he should be there in India's Test plans. Right now maybe he's not able to make his position. I mean, the positions are sorted, but he should be round about there in India's Test plans. So now coming to the Syed Mushtaq Ali and Vijay Hazare. I mean, we all know due to COVID, we have been sending the squad numbers have increased. So I really don't think that the performances. I mean, here, yes, Ishan Poral, I think he has done really well. But Jaidev Unadkat, I think he performed really well in the Ranji Trophy. So I don't understand how would you pick him for an ODI or T20 setup. And for in T20s, I mean, he hasn't been good enough for Rajasthan Royals, to be honest. So
True.
I don't think Jaidev Unadkat deserves a spot. Again, another name that keeps coming up is Jalaj Saxena, but
Jealous.
yeah. Again, I don't think he performed that well in the Vijay Hazare or Syed Mushtaq Ali. He had a decent record, but uh, I don't think he deserves a spot. And also, when you are picking a team, you are also looking somewhat for the future, like the T20 World Cup is coming up. So that one selection that really surprises me is Manish Pandey, because I don't think he'll make the cut for the T20 World Cup. Anyways, most of these players won't. But again, when you're looking for the future, you're trying to test out players who can serve you well in the coming 5-6 years. So overall, I don't have any beef with the overall squad that has been selected. Like a Nitish Rana, I know. I mean, he will not get a game. Krishnappa Gautam is a very surprising inclusion, but I don't see him getting a game. I mean, I would be again really shocked and surprised if he gets ahead of Krunal Pandya. So
True.
overall, if I mean whatever I have followed, I think Patikal and Shaw were the leading run scorers in Vijay Hazare as well, right? So I mean,
Yes.
they have been selected. Polling department, I mean, Nagaswala was there, Porel was there, so Nagaswala is there in England. Porel has not been selected, so you can say, but Porel, I think he'll get.
Porel is with the he's traveling to Sri Lanka though with the as a net bowler though.
Okay.
Ishan Porel
Yeah.
is there with the as a net bowler, and so is Arshdeep Singh in fact.
Yeah. But again, I mean, even if you talk about fast bowlers, I think Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Deepak Chahar, and Navdeep Saini, I would have them. I mean, they are ahead in the pecking order, definitely, even ahead of all these names that we are talking about. So, selection-wise, I think it's you can always minutely discuss here and there, but it's the overall team selection is fine, in my opinion.
True.
There's
Yeah,
another
sure.
thing. There's another thing that I want to add. The issue that lies with selection, especially when it comes on, when it is on the basis of say a Ranji Trophy or a Vijay Hazare or a Syed Mushtaq Ali. See, by default, your top scorers are going to be the players who are opening or are in the top three. So, just going by the runs, sometimes if you keep selecting players, you will not be able to fit the puzzle. And I think that has been happening for some time, especially when it comes to the limited over sides. You select Manish Pandey on the basis of runs. Okay, there is no denying the runs. But if you're going to select him for the runs that he scored at number three and then going to play him at number five or number six, you're not going to gain anything. And that has been happening, especially with the selection of batsmen, a lot of time. So you might have someone who scored a lot of runs, but if he's scoring those runs in the top two or the top three, like someone like Prabh Singh scored a lot of runs, but you already have such a traffic jam at the top. So what can you do? And as far as like Sahil mentioned, someone like a Jaidev Unadkat is doing well, but you can only draft him into the test side when, say, India play a Bangladesh or Sri Lanka at home, and you want to play a second string side. You really can't play him in the limited overs. I know Jalaj has been performing at the domestic level, but there's another thing that we need to see that someone like a Jalaj Saxena had to move to Kerala to play consistently. So there's that issue as well, that he had to change that state, and he could only get games when he moved to Kerala. He was not able to get games for any other side that he was playing before. So that also explains the story that maybe there are already players who are better than him. So it's you just cannot look at it from the complete numbers point of view. You also need to dig deep into it and see where those runs have come in, where those wickets have come in, which is why someone like a Jaydev Unadkat's case becomes stronger, because he's taken those wickets at Rajkot, which is a very difficult pitch for anyone to bowl at. So
True.
these are the minute details which you have to sometimes get into, and just numbers won't tell you the story.
Yeah, yeah, Gitansh, come in, please.
So, like, we can justify Manish Pandey's selection with the numbers that back him, but at the same time, I feel that Jaydev Unadkat's case, I think if we consider the question of rewarding the players on the basis of their domestic seasons, I think Jaydev Unadkat completely deserved a place in a setup where 25 to 30, okay, so 60, 50 to 60 players are involved in a setup. And Jaydev Unadkat is coming from such a great Ranji season where he's broken records and he's led Saurashtra to victory. So I think somewhere he could have gotten a spot in one of the setups. I think because with Manish Pandey we understand that there are numbers that back him. But similarly with Jaydev Unadkat there is experience and there is performance. So I think somewhere he could have been a part of the setup just to reward him. Like we've seen Chetan Sakaria and players of that caliber and that experience breaking into the Sri Lankan side. I think one more person somehow Jaydev Unadkat could have been rewarded. I agree that he's not performed well for Rajasthan Royals in the recent years, but I think in this season only we could see the glimpses of his good form. I think he played one or two matches. I think he played against Delhi only. I'm not too sure, and he bowled an amazing spell
3 for 12.
in one of the matches. Yeah. So I thought that there were glimpses of the form that he was probably finding, like Ishant Sharma found at the latter half of his career. Maybe somehow Jaydev Unadkat could have been a part of the picture. So I think that is one thing. That is the only thing about the rewarding question that I like to add. And answering Arun's question that says, "Do you think Rahul should have been in Sri Lanka more than England?" I think where Shikhar Dhawan was dropped out of the limited overs setup a few months ago, because Virat Kohli was sure and confident that they want KL Rahul as the other opener, and they are looking at KL Rahul as the T20 opener. He said in one of the toss speeches or either toss or post match conferences. So I think from that point of view, going towards the World Cup, I think KL Rahul would have been he would have gotten a good series playing against Sri Lanka, getting that exposure of the subcontinent pitches, playing good ODI, playing good T20 cricket, and yeah, I think KL Rahul should have definitely been a part of the Sri Lankan side rather than going to England for the Test setup.
Uh,
Because
so, yeah, you can complete and then I'll pitch in.
Yeah, because where you can consider dropping Shikhar Dhawan to let KL Rahul play, and Shikhar Dhawan was in an exceptional form. We could see that in the IPL. I think seeing KL Rahul also part of the Sri Lankan tour, because you playing Shikhar Dhawan, then I think at the same time KL Rahul would have been an equally good opening option in Sri
So,
Lanka. That's all.
yeah, just about Jaydev Unadkat, I think what also when you're selecting a team, what you think is it better to have such a player of Unadkat's pedigree on the bench, right? Because as you see, I think all Bhuvi, Deepak Chahar and Navdeep Saini are ahead. I think they will play ahead of any other bowler like a Chetan Sakaria. So I think Chetan Sakaria has just been picked to give him that experience to be around the squad, and I don't think he should get a game. So that way, it also makes sense that you bring a player like Unadkat and just put him on the bench, right? So that's where I think that's what the selection committee might have thought. And but I mean, we are again mixing formats. I think his first-class performance has been great. So if he can play, he can only play the 5-day game rather than the ODI or T20 games for India.
Absolutely.
Makes
Yeah,
sense. That makes sense.
We've got a pretty interesting point from Ritvik Khanna saying the most exciting thing about this tour is Rahul Dravid. And that segues us into one of our final points for our talk here today. Rahul Dravid, it was a dream for everyone since Rahul Dravid started coming into coaching that Rahul Dravid should be coaching the Indian team, and that's happening this time around. So, what are your views about Rahul Dravid being the coach of this Indian team, and how good important is this tour for him as a coach and for Shikhar Dhawan as a captain? In a way, you can say it's the Delhi ka Munda and the Indira Nagar ka Gunda who are the team management for this tour. So, Gurkirat, I'll come down to you for this.
When it comes to just one tour, you really can't read much into it. I think Shikhar Dhawan being given the captaincy is just on the basis of his seniority. They
Yes.
wanted to show him that respect, because if he wouldn't have been there, or say if someone, if this Shreyas was available and
Hmm.
Shikhar wasn't there, then maybe it would have gone to Shreyas. So there is also no player as such who you actually look forward to as a future captain as well. So that is why they've just made the senior and the second most senior player as the vice captain. So not much to read into captaincy here. Also, honestly, if you want to read into captaincy of Shikhar Dhawan, it's much better if you read into his captaincy in the domestic circuit, where also he's not captaining anymore. I'm not sure if he actually captains Delhi as well in the Ranji or the
Doesn't
second Star. I
hardly
think
yet.
it's Ishan Sharma who does it. So really not much to read into that. Same for Rahul Dravid. See, the primary job of a coach is to construct a team. You
Hmm.
cannot construct a team in 6 games. So
True.
it's good thing that you will get to see him. You could probably see a couple of tactics where he might, say, try Surya Kumar Yadav as a finisher and see how
True.
it works out. But there's not much that you can, drive home. And I don't think it, even if, say, India don't do well, I don't think it does anything to anyone's legacy. So really not much that you can read into, both in terms of captaincy or coach, because the time period is too small. 6 games where you have to try out players as well. You might want to see. You could only the only difference that you could see, or you can gauge is to see how much of a freedom is probably given to a Sanju Samson, or how much
True.
of a freedom is given to a Prithvi Shaw. Okay, if Prithvi Shaw is given the freedom that, okay, you will play all 6 games, and all 6 games, your job is to be very simple, and that is you have to attack, regardless of what conditions is, who's bowling, etc. And if he's able to maintain that the same intent and the same style of play across 6 games, despite failures here and there, then you could probably say, okay, that was Rahul Dravid's thinking beyond, behind this idea, because we saw how Rahul Dravid and Greg Chappell were stubborn enough to keep trying out different things when they were, at the helm. India started chasing under them, because there was a time we were not comfortable even chasing 250. So
True.
that is something, if happens, you could only see his impact maybe in a couple of players here and there, but not much to read about apart from this.
Absolutely. Sahil, I'll come down to you. I mean, Rahul Dravid was always everyone's favorite, and now he's become the pop culture icon after becoming the Indira Nagar ka Gunda. So, what do you think about the coaching gig for Rahul Dravid as a senior Indian team coach for this tour?
I think Rahul Dravid's reputational score is so high. If you follow social media and all, I think nothing can put a dent on that. I think
True.
right now there is nothing I foresee that it can put a dent on Dravid's reputation or his legacy. I mean, a true
Hmm.
legend of the game. So, but my personal opinion is that Rahul Dravid should never be the coach of the Indian senior team. I think it serves us best that he is the coach. I think his role with the NCA, and also when he's part of the India A setup. I think what I mean, uh, I think everybody believes and knows that the work that doing behind the lines, uh, right? Uh, that has served really well for India, right? The players, the India A setup, and I think that's the point where when the player is coming up from a, let's say, if he has a very good domestic season, he's performing well in domestic cricket, and then he comes up to the India A setup, and then there's a Rahul Dravid to guide him, right? To provide him that
True.
support, give him that confidence, and I think once you become that Indian cricket team's coach, there is a lot of undue pressure because there are a lot of things that are not under your control, right? But then you are being judged all the time. You're always on the spotlight. And I mean, we all know Dravid, right? He doesn't want the spotlight, and he works really well when he's not in the spotlight. So it works well for the Indian team that he's there as a coach for the India A in the longer run. Yeah, but here and there, when we see there are two teams, I mean, yeah, you can always have. It's amazing to have a backup like Rahul Dravid uh, coaching the team. Coming to the captaincy, as Gurkirat has said, I like nothing more to add. I mean, don't look much into the captaincy part. I think he's being given that role because of his seniority. You don't see anybody else like captaining in that side, right? Maybe a Hardik Pandya, I really don't know, but that sends a wrong message when you make Hardik Pandya the captain instead of Shikhar Dhawan. So let's not read too much into that. Uh, yeah, I think that's it about captaincy and coach.
Gitansh, I'll take your views on the on Rahul Dravid's coaching gig here. And do you think in the future India should think about someone like him and as the full-time Indian team coach, or should we just let him be with the kids from the under 19s and India A and the NCA?
I think it's quite possible that we might see him coaching the senior setup as well. But I agree there's not much to read into with their captaincy, with Shikhar Dhawan's captaincy and Rahul Dravid as a coach, because it's sort of like a one-off arrangement for now, and like till the time we see more juniors, second string teams touring. But I think it's going to be a great series, seeing Shikhar Dhawan, a guy so cool, as cool as Shikhar Dhawan, and a coach as cool as Rahul Dravid. You know how they go about, tackling the situation. And there's not much to read into Shikhar Dhawan's captaincy, like as everybody has said before. But yeah, I think it's quite possible that Rahul Dravid might, as he gains more experience as a coach, and he guides more like the junior Indian teams to more victories after Ravi Shastri and after Virat Kohli's reign as a captain. Because like we all agree that Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli, the combination is inseparable, right? So I think once we see Indian cricket move on from Virat Kohli, we might just see Indian cricket move on from Ravi Shastri as well. And with that, with a younger captain, like with the likes of Rishabh Pant or Shreyas Iyer, all the younger captains coming in who've in the past worked with Rahul Dravid. Shreyas Iyer has played in India A and other junior teams with Rahul Dravid as a coach. That combination might just work well for Rahul Dravid as a coach, because of the captain with the tuning. Now we're seeing how the coaches are being preferred with the captain's choice, right? Like in Saurav Ganguly's time, we could see that the captain had to step down when it was not working out with the coach. But with Anil Kumble and Virat Kohli and what followed after, and how Ravi Shastri has gotten a renewed term, I think we're seeing a subtle shift towards giving importance to the captain's priorities as well. With younger captains, we might just have Rahul Dravid on as India's coach in the future. That's my take.
Interesting point over there, Gitanj. So I'll come down to the final bit of our discussion here. So we'll discuss about your preferred playing 11s for both the formats, for the test, for the ODIs and the T20 series. So Saahil, I'll in fact start with you. What would you have as your preferred as your preferred 11 for the test and for the ODIs and the T20s in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, so for ODIs, I'll have Shikhar Dhawan, Prithvi Shaw, Manish Pandey, Surya Kumar Yadav, Sanju Samson, and Hardik Pandya. Mm-hmm. Then Krunal. So as I said, I mean, it's a pick between Krunal and Kuldeep for me. So I think I'm still not sure. I mean, Kuldeep should get games. I mean, I would go and take a risk with 5 bowlers because I think it's a Sri Lanka side, right? And we have seen Sri Lanka is not the strongest team right now. So I think you can play 6 batsmen and 5 bowlers. And also, I personally feel that you are playing a Krunal Pandya as a batsman definitely adds on. But I don't think if your top 6 is not performing, Krunal Pandya will win you a game, right, on his own. So that way, I could prefer Kuldeep Yadav ahead of Krunal Pandya. So it's a toss-up between these two. And then it's Chahal, Chahar, Bhuvi, and Navdeep Saini in the ODI setup. In the T20, as I said, again, Krunal and Varun could be my. It's a toss up between these two guys. Uh, Bowlers, I mean fast bowlers, they remain same. Only the change that I'll make is Manish, instead of Manish Pandey, I'll play Ishan Kishan, and the rest the team. I mean, the batting order you can sort out. I mean, Surya Kumar has to bat at 3 in the T20 game.
True.
In ODI, you can have Manish Pandey at 3. So that would be my team.
Yeah, Gurkirat, I'll now come down to you. What would you have as your preferred playing combinations for the two formats?
My T20 batting lineup is same as Sahil's. That it would be Shikhar, Shaw, Surya Kumar Yadav, then the two wicket keepers and Hardik Pandya at 6, Kunal Pandya at 7. Now from there on, you have to pick four bowlers. Obviously, Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Yuzvendra Chahal make it to the side. I'll definitely have Navdeep Saini also. Now I think you can play with Deepak Chahar at number 8 because he can bat a little bit, and you can have Bhuvneshwar Kumar at number 9. I was earlier thinking maybe you can have Krishnappa Gautam as well, but then you are essentially having three bowlers and then three part timers in Krishnappa Gautam, Kunal Pandya, and Hardik Pandya. I'm not sure you want to have that strategy. So for T20s, this is going to be my side. For ODIs, definitely, one of Samson, Kishan, or Suryakumar Yadav will have to go out. Manish Pandey plays. What you could see is that all three of them would get two ODIs each. You could have Samson and Kishan playing in one ODI, then Samson and Sky playing in one ODI, and then Ishan Kishan and Sky playing in the third ODI. So that could happen. And then again, I'm with Sahil that if you want to test Kuldeep Yadav, either you play all five bowlers or you play Yuzvendra Chahal, or you drop Yuzvendra Chahal and play Kuldeep. But the thing to see is that it isn't that Yuzvendra Chahal's confidence is at a high also. So might as well try and play five bowlers and then see, because Sahil's right. You can experiment this because the side that you're playing isn't the strongest. You might as well get away with it. So there's no harm in trying, and there isn't a pressure of losing points for the Super League as well. India,
True.
might as well lose all games and still qualify because they are the host. So, I'm pretty much with Sahil as far as the 11 is concerned.
Gitansh, I'll take your views on the playing 11s that you would want to see India come out with in both the ODIs and the T20s.
So my playing 11 is a bit conditional. So I would like to start with Dhawan, Shaw, Surya Kumar Yadav at number 3, followed by Ishan Kishan, Sanju Samson, Hardik Pandya, Krunal Pandya. Then I would like to see Chahal or Varun Chakravarti. I'll explain the condition. Then Bhuvi, Chahar, and Navdeep Saini. I'm keeping in mind that Deepak Chahar can bat, and I would like to see if Hardik Pandya bowls. If Hardik Pandya bowls, then I might just want to ask one of the pacers to step down and try Varun Chakravarti if the conditions support that. If the conditions are assisting, because Sri Lankan conditions, I can imagine, the ball turning, and it can be a tricky pitch, right? So I would like to see if Hardik Pandya is bowling, we get that another pace bowling option if he's fully fit, and then I'd like to see Chahal bowl or Varun Chakravarti. If the conditions permit, then I'd like to see both of them bowl. It's a long shot, I know, but like it might be exciting. So that is that for T20. And in the ODIs again, I'll start with Dhawan, Shaw. Instead of Ishan Kishan, Manish Pandey comes in at number 3, followed by Surya Kumar Yadav, Sanju Samson, again Hardik Pandya, Krunal Pandya. Here I'd like to see Kuldeep Yadav perform, followed by Navdeep Saini, Deepak Chahar, and Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Again, even here, if Hardik Pandya performs well, if he can bowl, and if the conditions permit, then I would like to see Kulcha back in action after the World Cup, because even after the World Cup, the condition was that Hardik Pandya was unfit, and because of that fast bowling all-rounder combination, one of the two always had to sit out, and then we moved on. We started looking beyond Kuldeep Yadav, the Kulcha combination. If Hardik Pandya is fit enough to bowl, I'd just somehow like to see the Kulcha combination back in the act in the ODIs. I think it's going to be great if that works out.
Absolutely. I think fabulous points over there. And I think with that, we are about to hit the 1 hour mark on our stream. So that would be it for our discussion today on the series. So huge thanks to Gurkirat, Saahil, and Gitansh for being here. Gitansh making a fabulous start to his debut on Impact TV, and Gurkirat Sahil, as always, ever consistent, Rahul Dravid and the likes would be proud of them. So thank you guys for joining in. Subscribe to Impact TV on YouTube. Follow us on all our socials. Tell us where you want to see us. Do you want us see on Instagram Live or Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces or whatever? Just let us know. We'll and what time your time preferred time slots to for us to come live to talk about whatever you want. So I think do follow the website as well, because we are churning out some quality articles, especially considering it's a busy sporting calendar that's taking coming up right now. So I think that you would enjoy some of the content that's coming in. So with that, we say good night, and thank you to everybody who joined in, and we will see you soon. Stay happy, stay healthy. And good night, guys. Good night.
Thank you. Good night, guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.